Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. Today we are talking about all the different tracking tools and how you can find the best tracking tool for you. There are many benefits to tracking. There's a saying, if you can track it, you can change it. And I do believe that's true. However, if any form of tracking or documentation becomes obsessive and now you feel fear of not being able to do it, well, then that becomes problematic because the purpose of tracking your food intake is to help make healthy and sustainable changes. But if you're tracking your food intake and you feel like you can't live a life without tracking your food, well, then that's not truly a healthy lifestyle, right? Because if we're talking about your health, if you're new here, but health is the definition of not just your physical health, but your mental health. So if at any time one is being compromised to get to the other, we really want to reassess what our goals are, why they're important to us, and the methods that we're using to get there. Okay, so I do believe in the power of tracking. However, like many people, I too once struggled with the obsession. So what I wanted to kind of go over today was all the different forms of tracking and how you can identify, maybe if you're currently in it, maybe to understand some signs that maybe it's time to take a step back or to shift, or maybe you haven't started tracking and you're kind of thinking, I do want to make some changes. My habits have gotten a little bit out of whack. Like, what can I do to make this different, right? Because when you're more self-aware, you're more likely to make a change, right? There's that saying, ignorance is bliss. If you don't know what you need to do, if you're kind of like, oh no, everything's fine, and you're kind of just like living in denial, well, then nothing's going to change. But if you can start to bring awareness, you're going to be able to see, like, you thought, I didn't really think I was eating so poorly, or I didn't think my habits were such a mess. But then as you start to track, you realize, oh wow, these are not great at all, right? So we're going to go through all the different types of tracking. There's actually a downloadable PDF that you can download, whether you have a copy of my book or not. You go to tipswithtony.com/onceuponadiet, and you can actually download a pros and cons tracking sheet so that you can kind of really go through and work through seeing, which fits best for you. Also, while this is out until the end of this week, I'm going to bring the price back up to $9.99, the ebook of Once Upon a Diet. But as I'm rambling, I'm realizing, oh my God, I didn't open this with celebrating that Once Upon a Diet is now officially number one bestseller on Amazon in multiple categories. I was most proud of being number one in the eating disorder category and mental health category, because as I just described, health is really a combination of your physical and mental health. And unfortunately, in this diet culture ridden society, when someone goes about getting their health, it starts out super innocent and then unfortunately can go down the path towards like disordered eating/eating disorders. So it's been my mission to help people understand that you can be both happy and healthy regardless of the number on the scale. And then what my book also talks about is your relationship status and kind of, we live our whole lives trying to prove to other people that we're worthy by changing our size. And I really, really want that to end because we have so much more to offer the world than what we look like. So my book, Once Upon a Diet, has officially been recognized as a number one bestseller for multiple days in a row and multiple categories. By being a number one bestseller, it changes every hour. It's literally updated every hour. So it's just been so cool. And I have you guys to thank. Anyone who read the book, downloaded the book, wrote a review, it means the world to me. So the 5-star ratings and positive reviews are actually what help bring it to number one. So compared to other books, I don't have a lot of them, but I do have 5-star rating across the board and positive reviews. So I'm hoping that was the reason. But either way, if you read the book and you love the book, I would so appreciate if you could do that for me. And if you've been hesitant about downloading it, maybe you didn't have the money, it's literally 99 cents. The ebook is. The paperback is still regular price because obviously I have to pay for like shipping and making the book and all of that. But you can download the ebook for only 99 cents for a limited time only. I'm trying to stay at number 1 as much as possible. I think I just checked and it dropped down to number 3, which is still freaking good out of like, I think there's like 115,000 ebooks or something. Like, it's so crazy. So it's so exciting, and it literally makes my heart smile. And I want to keep it going. And so I decided to keep it at 99 cents. And so basically, if you have a Kindle, obviously it'll go right to your Kindle. If you don't have a Kindle, you just have to press buy now with one click and make sure it goes to like your phone or your computer and specify where you want to send it. I had a couple people kind of struggle with being able to find that. And also you need to use the link. I'll put the link in the show notes. Use that exact link. That way you don't get lost on the website on Amazon. And it actually doesn't work in the app for whatever reason. You have to use the browser and use a link in your browser. Sorry, it's complicated. Technology is not my friend, let me tell you. But it's been super great. So with that said, if you download the ebook, you can just scroll down to that page where we have the pros and cons tracking list. If you have the paperback book, I should have the book in front of me with the page number, but I actually don't. Sorry about that. And I'm in the middle of recording, so I'm not going to get up and pause, but you can also just go to tipswithtony.com/onceuponadiet and you can quickly download it. So with that said, tracking can be super helpful to help bringing awareness. And it not only does it help bring awareness, but it can actually help with the accountability factor. You know, if you have to kind of check a box each day, think about just writing a general to-do list, right? It keeps you focused. So that's the whole purpose of tracking, is to remind you of your goal, what's important and why, and to keep you going. But unfortunately what happens is some people get so caught up in the doing and the tracking that they forget why they started in the first place, right? So everyone is different in which the best sort of tracking tool will work for them. I can't really tell you exactly without working with you one-on-one, but that's what we specialize in the 6 months of food freedom program. Your dietitian will we usually start our clients with just taking photos of their food as a nice, gentle, easy way in to bringing awareness, because in the beginning, honestly, you don't have to make any drastic changes. The easiest time to change is in the beginning. And we rather help you build momentum and start with like a really kind of low intense approach and kind of see how far that gets you. And then if we need to somehow incorporate temporarily, maybe having our clients not just take photos of their food, but actually using, portion like containers and scales and measuring cups and tablespoons and all that stuff. We might incorporate that. And then we might have them track in something like Myfitnesspal, just for a teaching moment, but not for long term. There are some clients that have very specific goals. And so we might start to teach them about calories and macronutrients, so their carbs, their protein, their fat. But those are usually towards the later half of the program, or even those who finish the 6 months and decide they want to keep going and kind of take it to the next level. So it takes time before we get there. But regardless, whether it's as simple as taking a photo of their food or documenting in Myfitnesspal, there's one saying I always say to them, and it's that if it stresses you out more than helps you out, we need to take it out, right? Tracking is a tool. It's not the program, right? It's just a part of the method that's going to help you get to where you want to go. It helps us to kind of see, oh, you know what? On the days that you're not eating a lot of fiber, you are actually hungrier. On the days where maybe you're not drinking enough water, you're more tired, and then you're more likely to do your workout. On the days that you eat more protein, you actually feel more satisfied and you have less cravings, right? So those are the sorts of things that we're looking for. But that now doesn't mean that every day you need to obsess about making sure you get enough fiber and making sure you get enough protein and making sure that you're drinking enough water. And it's like, we want to still work towards those things, but the mindset is the biggest thing that we're looking at, right? Actually just posted this morning I took a picture of my breakfast. I haven't been feeling well for the past week or so. Not COVID, thank God. I don't know what it was, some sort of virus, but I wasn't feeling well. I had a really bad cold. My appetite was kind of off. Even when I was eating because I knew that I needed to eat something, but I wasn't hungry, but I didn't lose my taste or smell. But when you have your sinuses are all clogged up, it's like, it takes like forever to chew, and like the taste is like kind of off, and like you're not even really enjoying it. So with that said, today was the first day I woke up with an appetite, and my taste buds were like pretty much like normal. Not that I didn't have COVID, so I didn't like lose my taste buds, but I think I know what you think you know what I mean. Like when you have a cold, just things kind of taste off. So I woke up, I was like craving, like I had leftover like grilled chicken, an egg, turkey bacon, and I ran out of bread because there's like nothing in my refrigerator because I need to go to the grocery store. And I had like, I think it was on like it was like corn. It was like a corn cake instead of a rice cake because that's literally all I had. But I was like really craving like a big sandwich, right? And then I realized, I was like, oh my God, like after I took the picture, I was like, there's no fruit or vegetable here. There's literally no color, like none at all. Like that's what my body needs right now. So I was like reflecting on how when I was struggling with what you call orthorexia, I was never like clinically diagnosed, but it was pretty close. So that's why I call it disordered eating and not an eating disorder. You might not hit all the categories, but you definitely relate to many of them. And it's this obsession with healthy food. And I remember like for me, as much as I was like trying to lose weight on the DL, it was more so like I thought that the answer to losing weight was getting in every single healthy option imaginable. So I like had to eat my fruits and veggies every day. I had to eat beans because I knew that they were good for me. I had to have fruit even if I wasn't hungry for it, because in my mind, I needed to eat more of these nutrient dense foods. And so I was reflecting on how if I was still kind of tracking my fruit and veggie intake for the day, I didn't have it with breakfast, I would have felt like guilty all day long. I would have felt like I needed to overcompensate in some way. And I really would have just been obsessing about it. And it takes away so much mental energy. It's just so draining and so exhausting. And then sorry if this is TMI, but like an hour later, I had my morning bowel movement like I always do. But it was harder to go. And it's honestly because I didn't have a piece of fruit. Like normally if I have fruit in the morning, it's like clockwork. But it was harder to go, but I went. All that to say, this is what I talk about like your mental health and your physical health lining up, and the methods in which you getting there need to be helping you out. So was not having the fruit or the vegetable the best thing for me? It's not that big of a deal. It's literally one meal. And later on, I can definitely like have fruits or veggies and I don't need to feel stressed about it, right? But with that said, physically, it made things a little bit harder for me. But it's not like I'm stressed about it all day long and I'm beating myself up about it. I'm more so looking at it as like, now, this is why I encourage myself and others to put, fruits and veggies in their meals, because it's not only going to help their physical health in the long run, but even in the short term, just your daily quality of life. Like you're going to go to the bathroom better, drinking more water, you're going to have more energy, your skin's going to be clearer. There's just lots of things that are super, super important that you don't have to be obsessed with it, but when you do it, you're going to feel better. So sorry, I have this really bad habit of going on tangents, but all right. So let's get back to the tracking tools. So the benefits of, let's start with taking photos of your food. That's what I have clients do in our program. And also with like Instagram and social media and TikTok and all these things just being super like popular right now, or like Facebook groups, it's actually like very normal, I guess. So the thing with tracking photos of your food is it's, like I said, it's not something that's like big or invasive. You don't have to worry about understanding calories, or you don't need a food scale or measuring cups or anything like that. You literally just take your phone out, which has a camera, which everybody has, and you snap a photo of it. So the benefits to this is, like I said, it's super non-invasive. It's great for you to be able to see like color, and you can, start to track. If you track throughout the day, you can start to notice different patterns. Now, the downside is, number one, if you don't have a nutrition professional looking over, you might not really be sure what you should be looking at or what for. It can be quite vague. Two, even with a nutrition professional, sometimes it's hard for us as a nutrition professional to really understand portions because of like the perspective. So sometimes we might have someone put like their phone next to it or a pen or a pencil so we can kind of understand kind of what the actual portion size is. Obviously, it doesn't give you specifics of like your macronutrient breakdown. But when you're using a more mindful eating approach like we do, it's not necessary. It's not always necessary. And the other downside is that sometimes you might not want to take a photo of your food. Maybe you're out in public. Maybe it's not always appropriate. So in that case, like with our food tracking app, you can just type in what you ate. You don't necessarily have to take a photo if you forget, but you yourself might, kind of forget, or maybe you have like guilt or shame for eating, something extra, or maybe you had something while you were like standing or kind of in passing, or you finished the kids' food. And so you didn't necessarily track that. And so it's not 100% accurate, which by the way, none of this is, right? It's all just a guesstimate. So that's super helpful. The other benefit, especially if you use an app like ours, unfortunately, our app you can only use it if you work with a nutrition professional. But I do believe there is an app out there. I wish I remember the name of it. I don't know if it's still present, but I believe they have an app where you can take photos of your food and all of that as well. I have to remember the name of it. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. I'm so sorry, guys. This is why I need to prepare for podcasts way better instead of I just pop on and say, what do I want to talk about today? And by the way, also too, if you're in the Healthy Habits Challenge, I'm going to be talking about this tonight. And I'm also doing this podcast to get me in preparation so I know what I want to talk about tonight. So tonight's training will probably be a lot better since I'm sorry guys, but you guys are getting this first. Tonight's training is going to be probably a lot more specific and organized because this is kind of my trial. But I hope you're still finding this valuable, and I know you are. So all right. Taking photos of the food. Oh, so what we do also in the Healthy app is we'll actually have our clients use the hunger scale. So using the hunger scale is actually another form of, technically, it's not like tracking everything of your food, but it is some sort of checking in and tracking for yourself. So using the hunger scale, before you eat and after you eat can be super, super powerful. So this could also be like a mental note. So you might not need the plus side to this is you don't need pen and paper. You don't need a fancy app. You don't need your phone. You don't need anything. You just, in your mind, are checking in. Before you start to eat, how hungry am I? On a scale of 1 to 10. 1 to 3 is like absolutely famished, starving. We don't really want to get there most often. 4 to 5 is kind of where we want to eat. And then 6 to 7 is kind of where we want to stop. Because 7 is like, if I have one more bite, I'm going to be too full. Right? So 6 is satisfied. 7 is one more bite. I'm going to be too full. And then 8, 9, and 10 is like full, stuffed, like I'm going to vomit, too full, right? So ultimately, if you're using the hunger scale as a form of tracking, we want to get you to eat around a 4 or 5 and stop around a 6 or 7 on average. So that's another tool that you can utilize. And it's honestly hard to get obsessed with that because that's like a daily thing. You're going to be hungry every day, and that's your body's natural way of telling you. So I would hope no one's ever taken that to the extreme and gotten obsessed with it. I don't know if that's possible, but anything is. Other forms of tracking, like I kind of talked about, something like Myfitnesspal. When you're doing it on your own, it can just be helpful for you to understand like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that, if I have this portion size of it, it's X amount of calories. If I have this portion size of it, it's this amount of calories, so it can be just helpful for like that educational thing. However, the downside is it can become quite obsessive. I mean, calories aren't everything. Quality of food matters a lot more. I mean, calories are definitely important. Especially if you're on have a fat loss goal or like a weight loss goal. But with that said, I like for people to really focus on quality of food, which is why we start first with taking photos of it, because you're really focusing on okay, do I have a fruit or a vegetable present? Are there lean proteins present? Are most of my greens whole grain? Am I eating healthy fats? How often am I eating? Why am I eating? Am I honoring my hunger? Like those are the solid foundations that you want to develop first. And making sure that overall, not everything you eat is like perfectly nutritious, but most of the time what you're eating is nutritious. And then, sometimes you're having those kind of less nutrient dense options. And I think when you start with that as your foundation, then when you start to realize like, oh, okay, so this is where think something like peanut butter has a bad reputation because it's calorically dense, but it's a healthy fat. So it's not that you can't have peanut butter. It's just that if weight management is important to you, that's one of those things that you might want to be mindful of when you're scooping out that tablespoon. Is it actually a tablespoon, or is it 2 tablespoons, or is it 3 tablespoons? And once again, that doesn't mean that your portion should be 1, 2, or 3. It just means that you need to be more mindful that, if you're struggling, it's not just the peanut butter. I'm sure it's maybe, the portion of the milk or cream in your coffee, or the sugar in your coffee, or the portion of your pasta or your rice. Like, it's totally okay to have those things, but if you're not measuring them accurately, then your, calorie intake for the day is going to be off. And then you're going to be disappointed if it looks like you've been in a calorie deficit and you get on the scale and nothing drops, right? So the other benefit though, so that can be, helpful just for bringing awareness. The other thing I found, especially when we're working with someone one-on-one, is they in their mind think that they're only allowed to have like, say, X amount of carbs a day. Carbohydrates have been put on this, they have a really bad reputation, and most people think they only need, like keto, I think it's like, they say like less than 50 grams. Low carb diets are like 120 or less, but your brain needs at least 140 grams of carbohydrates to function optimally. Obviously, it's a little bit different per person. Some might say even 150, some might say the lowest you can go is 120 or 130, but I don't want to just... And that's not even optimally. That's just like for your brain to function. So it's like, we don't need to keep your carbs that low. But let's, for argument's sake, say that we calculate your calorie needs to be 140 grams per day for you to, and this is so generic, and this is why I hate talking numbers, because this is where nutrition professionals, we'll do the math, and then we'll give you guidance so that you don't have to worry about the counting, because it can get stressful and it can get obsessive, and that's the last thing that we want to do to you. With that said, often when we kind of teach that it's okay to have an X amount of carbohydrates per day, and they start to track in their mind, they feel like they overdid it and that's so much, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm allowed so many carbs. And they start to track, they realize like, oh no, it's like a very normal amount, it's actually a great amount, and it's very doable, and actually have room for more carbs. And also same thing with calories. Sometimes we'll give a bigger calorie goal than they're expecting, and they're like, oh my God, that's so much food. Like, I don't think I can eat that much. And then they start to realize like, or they might think I can't eat that little. And then they start to realize, oh no, there's plenty of room for that. It totally fits. Right. So that's where there's a big benefit to that. Other things that you can do is just generic pen and paper. I find that using pen and paper can be super helpful, super old school. There's something about putting pen to paper that can be super, super helpful. And that way you can organize, what you want to document. If you want to write down what you had for breakfast, what you had for lunch, what you had for snacks, or maybe you want to proactively write in like what you're going to have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack, that can work. And then also if you don't have pen and paper, some people like to just use the note section in your phone. So at the end of the day, your tracking system needs to help you out more than it's going to stress you out. If you're looking for specific guidance on what your method should be, or if you are choosing a certain tracking system and you're like not sure if you're using it properly, you can always message me on Instagram at tips_with_Tony with an I, and let me know where you think what would be helpful for you, kind of where you're struggling, and I'd definitely be happy to help you out. Now, if you don't want to have to worry and stress about tracking food for the rest of your life, then I strongly encourage you to apply to the 6 Months of Food Freedom program. Our goal is to get you to a place where you feel comfortable and confident in your own body and in your own choices, that you no longer need to track. You can choose to track. There's plenty of people that once they they graduate, they have lifetime access to the app that comes with the program. And so if they ever feel like they're kind of faltering a bit, they can go right back to taking photos of their food, or some people might choose to use one other app in order to do that. But all that to say, it's just to kind of bring the awareness back. It's not to be the thing that you feel like you need to stick to forever. Because if you feel that way, then it's just another diet. Like somehow macro tracking has become another diet. You know, it's very popular in the fitness industry and just in the nutrition coaching world. A lot of people will prescribe different macronutrients and calories and guidance, and unfortunately, no one ever really sticks to it long enough before they're told, like, okay, those are actually your calories and macro needs for fat loss. Like, we actually need to get you back up to maintenance calories. But people get so kind of stuck in it and caught in the weeds that they never really work on that. And they kind of just forever try to now eat in a calorie deficit and never get proper guidance on how to come out of it. And feel trapped to a tracking system. And then it's just like a diet. It's like either they're doing it or they're not. And when they're not, they feel like a failure and they feel guilt and shame and they say, screw it, and I'll start again on Monday. And then they go back to tracking on Monday, and then it just makes them nauseous and cringe and stress because it's annoying, right? A lot of these you don't want to you have so much to do every day. Do you want to have to track everything that you eat every day? And everything that you do? It's just like, for some of you, you might enjoy it. I talk about it in my book. There was one of my clients who really just loved the whole puzzle piece of it. She just like loved it. Like, she genuinely got excited. She looked forward to it. And that really never went away for her for a few years. Now I wonder if I checked in with her if that'd be the case, but I actually don't think it would be, because now she's a mom of a now 1-year-old boy. So my guess is her hands are full, and tracking right now is not a big priority. However, that doesn't mean that she stopped eating well and balanced. She just focuses on eating well and balanced and trusts that after years of tracking and years of behavior modification and years of habit stacking, that she doesn't actually have to track in order for her to maintain her health goals, right? So I hope this was helpful for you. I apologize if I rambled a lot. I tend to do that. I haven't been feeling well, so I didn't really get a time to plan or prepare. And this episode I'm recording it on Monday morning, January 10th, and you are getting it January 11th. So I apologize in advance if this wasn't the best episode you ever heard, but I hope you found it helpful. And I will be sure to come at you next week with a solo episode that is fire. Okay. If you have suggestions for topics, please message me, tipswithtony@gmail.com. I'm sorry. Message me on Instagram, tipswithtony on Instagram @tips_with_Tony. Oh my God, I have my brain. Or email me, tipswithtony@gmail.com. Right. And if you're interested in the 6 months of Food Freedom program, get your applications in tipswithtony.com/coaching. We are really short on spots. However, I have been thinking, you guys are hearing this first as well, I really miss coaching. Like, I really, really miss it. Over the past few months, I've had, my dietitians do an incredible job taking on clients. And I wasn't sure if it was just like the transition. These past 6 months, I moved, I got my book out, I had hired a team. So much has changed, and I felt weird. I felt very weird. I felt a little lost. And honestly, I had to take on a couple clients just because my dietitians were almost full, and I've been getting some international applications in, and just because of the time change and everything, it just wouldn't have been fair to put them with one of my dietitians where, their schedule's pretty, tight right now. And then to put them with someone where like the time zone is completely different, where they don't have as flexibility to really maneuver their schedule like that. Whereas I do, I decided to just take on a couple international clients. And ever since I've started coaching again, I'm so much happier. Like, I really, 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 really missed it. I really did. So I'm not sure yet, but apply, because you might have the opportunity to work with me. If not, you'll be put on a waiting list, or you might be able to get a spot in with one of my dietitians. So go to tipswithtony.com/coaching, fill out an application, and be on the lookout from a text or email from me to set up your discovery call. All right, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, this is Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.